Okay, hello class. I don't see anybody in the chat room, but hopefully some students will join us. We're going to go over a copy of the midterm prep quiz in order to help you get ready for your midterm exam. In the midterm prep quiz, you will have, and in the actual midterm itself, you would have these formulas available. And they'll be there as question number 1. So during the midterm, if you need these formulas, just go back and use your drop-down menu, click on question 1. It'll take you back to the formulas. Alright, so some of the questions here involve a little bit of work, so I've created what I call detailed solutions, and let me get this centered here. I have a separate handout, and I'll publish that after class, after this chat's done. So the first question here, I've got a detailed solution for it. In order to work this problem, we need to have a common denominator. We notice the denominators are 4 and 8, so the LCD here is going to be 8. So I'm going to multiply the first fraction by 2 over 2, in order to get a denominator of 8. So I have 6 eighths plus 1 8 is 7 eighths, so the answer there is 7 eighths. I'm going to stay over here for question number 2. We're multiplying mixed numbers. In order to multiply mixed numbers, we want to go ahead and convert those to an improper fraction first. So remember how to convert a mixed number to an improper. The denominator times the number, times the whole number. 6 times 5 is 30 plus 2, 32 over 5. And 1 half is 3 halves, so now we can just go ahead and multiply directly across 96 over 10, and they want it as a real mixed number when we're finished. So I'm going to convert this, divide by 10, and I get 9 and 6/10, which simplifies to 9 and 3/5. Okay, let's go back over to question number 4. Use a Venn diagram to answer this question. Here's the Venn diagram, and we're looking at study habits on Saturdays and Sundays. Which students studied only Saturday and Sunday? And that would be right in the middle here. That would be Sam and Sophia, which is answer C. Okay, this one here wants to know the ordered pair of the point on the grid and then the axis or quadrant in which it's located. And that point is right here. So remember, we start at the origin. We're going to move to the left 5, so it's -5, and then we're going to go down 4, so it's -5, comma, -4. And I don't know if I can use my tools on here, let's see. Yeah. Whoops. Parenthesis, -5, comma, -4. Oh, I've got dumped out. There we go. And then where is that point located? Remember how we number the quadrants 1, 2, 3. So this is in quadrant number 3, which is the last choice. In which quadrants are the y coordinates positive? And I have a detailed solution over there. Actually, let's just go back. We can answer that looking right up above here. Where are the y coordinates positive? So here's the y-axis. So they're going to be positive in quadrant number 1 and quadrant number 2, and it says check all that apply, so it's going to be 1 and 2, the last two answers. Okay, we've got a detailed solution for number 7, and we're looking at the price of oil recently went from $10 to $17.50 per case of 12 quarts. Find the increase ratio of the increase in price to the original price. So remember, percent change is done like this, and they actually don't even want it as a percent. They just want the ratio. So final minus initial over initial. So I've got 750 over 10. I'm going to multiply numerator and denominator each by 10. I think it might be easier to work with. So I've got 75 over 100. Numerator and denominator both have a common factor of 25, so it's 3/4. Okay, another one with a detailed solution. What's the best buy on the unit per price? So what you're going to have to do here is take the price and divide by the number of units. So 120, 32 divided by 8 gives us $15.04 per unit, per ounce. The second one is $3 divided by 20 gives me 15 cents per ounce. And then finally, $360.24 divided by 24 gives me 15.01. And so the best buy here means the lowest cost per unit price, and that's going to be brand Y. Okay, let's jump back over the next couple we can do over here. So in this situation, the following situation contains a negative number used in a real life situation. Interpret what it means. -15 rushing yards in a football game. So the -15 in this phrase, in this game, means what? It means a loss. Next question, find the negative of the absolute value of -6. So the absolute value of -6 is 6, and then we're going to negate it, so the answer here is -6. Fill in the blank with a greater than or a less than. Okay, so on a number line, if we were to draw a number line and we think about -7, -7 is going to be over here, and 6 is going to be up here, so that tells us the numbers to the left are less than, so the correct answer here is a less than. Okay, here we're going to do a multiplication. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. Subtraction right here. 2 minus -15. Remember how we can rewrite that? We can rewrite it as 2 plus and add the opposite of -15, which is 15, so we get an answer of 17. Okay, now we have the multiplication one. So the first thing I'm going to look at is here. Let's go term by term, actually. Let's go start here. So -2 times 5 is -10, times -3 gives me 30, times -2 gives me -60. Okay, for this one I have a detailed solution. We're using a pie chart this time. And it shows us the students at Rockford College who are enrolled in different majors. Find the ratio we want to find of science to business. So I go to the table and I find my science people, which is right here, 1,200, and my business people, which is 3,800, form the ratio. So I notice I can divide numerator and denominator by 100, which leaves me 12 over 38, and then I can divide each of those a common factor of 2, which gives me 6 over 19. Okay, another graph problem using a bar graph. The bar graph shows the number of workers who were unemployed during the first 2 months of 1997 and 1998. How many more workers were unemployed in January of 1998, which is the B, compared to January of 1997, which is the A. And if you look at the top of the bar here, and it says it's going to be rounded to the nearest 500, it's just about 500 more unemployed in 98 than in 99. Okay, let's go back to the original. So we did those graph questions, and now we've got another graph question. This is a pretty easy one. The comparison line graph shows the number of compact CDs sold by 2 different stores over a 5-year period. Which store has shown a steady increase in sales since 1995? So 1995 is here. Steady increase. Okay, this store actually had a decrease in the first year. This had a steady increase, and I believe, it doesn't label it here correctly, I believe the red is store A. No, the red is store B, I'm sorry. On the original one I mustn't have cut the legend off. It should be store B. So B is the red and A is the blue. Okay, a train is traveling across the country. In 2 hours it traveled 400 miles, and in 4 hours it traveled 800 miles. Identify the independent and the dependent variable. When there's a time parameter in a problem, it's almost always going to be the independent variable. And in this case, it's going to be the time, and it's going to be the time in hours. So this one is, I'm sorry, use the answers over here, time in hours. And then the dependent variable is going to be the distance traveled, and it's the distance in miles. The scatter plot provided shows a set of data. Choose the best description for the trending of the data. So if we take a look at this, we notice it's not a straight line. It's definitely increasing, and this is what we would call an exponential graph. Select the section of the graph of power boat speed versus time corresponding to the boat slowing down and then holding a steady speed. So if we look at the graph here, it's going increasing, holding steady, decreasing, and then holding steady. So the answer to this one is going to be the region number C. Okay, this is another detailed solution one. Suppose that you walk 6 miles. We want to express the distance in yards. Okay, so we know there are 5,280 feet in a mile, and there are 3 feet in a yard. So we can take 6 miles times 5,280 feet. That gives us 31,680 feet. And then we're going to divide by 3, because for every 3 feet we have 1 yard. And so the answer here is 10,560 yards. And now we're going to convert on this one from seconds to minutes. So 60 seconds in a minute, so we take 300 and divide by 60, and we get 5. And then we want to convert millimeters to meters. Okay, so there are 10 millimeters rather in a centimeter, and 100 centimeters in a meter. So I'm going to take, so I'm going from a tiny unit here to a big unit, so I'm going to be dividing and getting a small answer. So 62 divided by 10 gives me 6.2, and then divide that by 100, and I get 0.062 meters. The amount in a savings account increased from $200 to $212. What was the percent of the increase? Remember the percent change here. So 212 minus 200 divided by 200, 6% increase. Another percent change problem. The number of farms in a country was 2.15 million in 2000. By 2006, the number had dropped to 2.08. What was the percent of the decrease? Okay, so we take final, which was 2.08, minus the beginning, 2.15, divide by 2.15, comes out to be 0.0326, and they wanted us to round to the nearest tenth, so this would be 3.3% decrease. I don't need a negative in front of it because the question, the answer, is phrased as the percent of the decrease. All right, so for percent multiplier, okay, let me jump back over. We got a couple between here. Number 25. Identify the terms in the following expression. Okay, so the terms are going to be 6n is one term and 35 is the other term. Identify the polynomial as a monomial, binomial, trinomial, or none, and give its degree. Okay, only one term, so it's a monomial, and the degree is the highest exponent on the variable, and in this case 2. Monomial degree 2. Give the numerical coefficient of the term. This is a constant term, and so the numerical coefficient is simply that number. In this case, is 15. Use the pattern and use it to list the next two numbers in the sequence. All right, so usually we look term to term here to see if we see something common going on. So to go from negative 10 to 4, we added 14. And then to get from 4 to negative 8, we're not adding 14. I'm not seeing that pattern there. But notice if I look at every other term here, I notice there's patterns here. So if I go negative 10, subtract 2, I get negative 8, subtract 2, I get negative 6, subtract 2, I get negative 4. And on the alternative terms, what's happening? I'm going from 4 to 8 to 12, so I'm adding 4 each time, so this would go 16. So the next two terms would be negative 4 and 16. What's the next term in this sequence? Okay, so take a look at the x's. X is going x squared, x cubed, x to the 8th, x to the 11th. So it looks like I'm going to add 3 to the exponent, so this is going to be x to the 14th. And then look at the adding or subtracting is alternating. Plus, minus, plus. And then I've got a term of 3x. And again, the exponent is adding a 3 each time, so it looks like this would be 12. Oh, not so good with this freehand today. X to the 14th plus 3x to the 12th. Okay, number 30. A multiplier of 0.15 corresponds to a percent increase or decrease of what percentage? Okay, it's less than 1, so we know it's a decrease. And in that case, we take 100, subtract the multiplier, in this case it's 15, and we end up with 85, so it's an 85% decrease. And so it's going to be a decrease of, here, 85%. For a percent increase of 199%, identify the multiplier. All right, so for this one, I'm just checking because I might have a detailed solution. Let me take a look. Yes, I do. Okay, so let's skip over to my detailed solution page. All right, so we started at 100% and we want to increase by 199%, so we end up at 299%, so the multiplier divided by 100 is 2.99. All right, in this picture, what is the area in square units? Okay, I gave you formulas for different geometry figures for area and perimeter. This is a parallelogram, two sets of parallel sides. And the area is the base times the height. And if you count on here, the base is 20 and the height is 10. So it's simply 200 square units. And that was number 32. Number 33, find the perimeter Okay, the perimeter we're simply going to add. So we've got 41 plus 27 gives me 38, and 38 and 38, is that right? 41, I'm sorry, 126, 68, and it's going to be 136. Sorry. Number 33, yeah, 136 meters, which is answer A. So remember, perimeter is simply the distance around the outside. All right, so the sample points here. So let's go over to the detailed solution. So you've got batteries, there are 5 of them, and you're going to pick them, and you're going to pick 3 at random, and we're going to do 2 ways for the counting principle, with replacement and without. So when we replace, every time we go in to pick, we have 5 to pick from. So the sample points are going to be 5 times 5 times 5, or 125. If we don't replace, if we take it out and then leave it out, it's going to be 5 times 4 times 3, or 60. All right, some probability questions again. At a local community college, there are 3,206 students. Here's the breakdown of freshmen, sophomore, junior, and senior. What is the relative frequency of students who are not sophomores rounded to 1 decimal place? All right, so there's a total of 3,206. 813 are sophomores, so we're going to subtract 813 from 3,206 and find out that 2,393 are not sophomores. So the relative frequency is 2,393 over 3,206, which is 0.746, or 74.6%, which is answer A. Okay, Jack flips a coin 75 times and he gets tails 41 times. What is the experimental probability that he will see tails? Write it as a percent. So I set up the probability 41 over 75, divide it, so 54.67%, because they want it to the nearest hundredth, which is 2 decimal places. Okay, let's go back here. So that was number 36. Number 37. A bag contains 6 red marbles, 3 blue, and 5 green. If a marble is randomly selected from the bag, what's the probability that it is blue? So how many total marbles? 6 and 3 is 9, 14, and how many are blue? 3. So this is going to be 3 out of 14, or answer D. Okay, use the spinner to answer the question. What's the probability it lands in a region? First one I'm going to do is how many regions are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yellow or brown? 1, 2, 3 yellow, 1 brown, 1, 2, 3, 4 yellow, and 1 brown, so this is going to be 5 over 6. And they wanted it as a fraction, so 5 over 6. All right, number 39. Sentinel High School is found to have a number of students listed below. If one student is chosen from the school at random, what's the probability that we selected a junior? All right, I have a detailed solution for this one because we need the total number of students first. So I took the 4 numbers and added them up, and I got 2,000. And then we're looking for junior, so that's going to be 531 over 2,000. And simply as a fraction, and that's the reduced fraction there, the simplified fraction. 39, let's go back over here. Number 40, according to a weather report, there's a 45% chance it will rain tomorrow. What's the probability that it will not rain tomorrow? So 45% chance it will, 55% chance that it will not rain tomorrow. So the answer here is 55%. All right, let's skip to detailed solution for the mean. Remember how we calculate the mean? We add all the numbers up and divide by the number of data values. So in this case, when we add them up, we get a total of 7 divided by 7. So the answer for the mean is 1. That was 41. Okay, number 42 is the standard deviation question. So first thing you need when you're going to do the standard deviation is you must find the mean. So for this small data set of 5 numbers, I added the numbers up. I got 90 divided by 5 gives me 18. I created my little table with the x values, the data values. The data value minus the mean, so 22 minus 18 is 4. 14 minus 18 is negative 4, etc. Notice the sum of those deviations is always 0. Then I squared those deviations and I added them up. So I got 40. So the standard deviation is the square root of that sum divided by the number of data values. Square root of 8, which is 2.83. I'm sorry, it rounds to 2.83, not 2.82. 2.8. Oh, I'm sorry, it's supposed to round to 1 decimal. That was what I was meaning to do. round to 1 decimal, so it's just going to be 2.8. Sorry, round it to 1 decimal up here, nearest tenth. Number 43, find the range. Okay, the range is the difference between the largest and the smallest. The numbers may not be given in ascending order, so be sure you check. So the largest number here is 26 minus 16, and I get a range of 10. And let's see, I think that's it. 41, 42, oh, a couple more here. A coffee shop next to the university surveys potential customers, students selected randomly walking onto campus. The survey asks the students where they live, whether they study at the library, and their weekly food budget. The weekly food budget is what kind of a variable? It's a numerical variable with units, so it's quantitative. Determine whether the value given is a statistic or a parameter. A sample of seniors is selected. 55% was calculated from the sample, so this is a statistic because it's describing a characteristic of a sample. And a couple more. In a poll, 1,002 women in a country were asked whether they favor or oppose the use of federal tax dollars to fund medical research using stem cells obtained from human embryos. Among the respondents, 47% said they were in favor. What is the population in the problem? Okay, so the population is going to be all, remember that's the big groups, that's going to be all the women in the country. And then what's the sample? And the sample's right here, 1,002 women that were selected for the study, for the survey. And then what's the population parameter? What do we kind of say here? We're trying to find out the percentage of women in the whole country who are in favor. And then identify a sample statistic. And in this case, a sample statistic that was given there was 47%. It was calculated from the sample. Identify the sampling technique used to obtain the sample. A random deck of cards is shuffled and a card is drawn at random. That's our definition of just simple random sampling. Determine if the study corresponds to an observational study or an experiment. In a study of 420 students with a particular disease, the subjects drank herbal mixtures to determine if the mixtures had an effect on the disease. All right, so it must be an experiment because we're talking about a particular treatment, which was the herbal mixtures. All right, and that's the end. So, hopefully this will help you as you get ready for your actual midterm. Again, on the actual midterm, I think yours, it's in the description, I think it has 35 questions if I remember, but they're very similar to what you see here and also what you saw in your homework and your cycle quizzes. So hopefully this will help you get ready. And again, remember the question number 1 on the actual midterm will contain the formulas that we see right here so that you'll be able to reference those during the actual midterm. No need for anything additional. So good luck on your midterm, and again, next week we'll start into cycle 2 after the midterm is given this weekend. Have a great week.